There's breaking news this morning from Russia's war in Ukraine. The Kremlin is now claiming victory in the battle for the strategic town of Soledar. This is video of Ukrainian forces near the front line of the battle. Soledar is seen as strategic to the fighting on the Eastern Front, strategic to both sides, and the battle is considered one of the bloodiest of the war. Abby Kugathasan is in London looking at this and the latest details of the fighting today. Abby.
Heather, this town in eastern Ukraine was once home to about 10,000 people. The regional governor there says just under 600 people are still there, unable to escape. Soledar sits about 10 kilometers from the city of Bakhmut, and there's been heavy fighting in this area for many months. As you said, heavy losses on both sides. Russia is saying it's a massive win, but the U.S. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby just yesterday questioning the strategic importance of Soledar and Bakhmut. It may be symbolically important to both Moscow and Kyiv, though. A few days ago, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky credited Ukrainian resistance in the town of Soledar for securing more weapons from its Western allies. It's also worth mentioning Russia's Wagner mercenary group announced it had taken control of Soledar earlier this week. So we have heard such claims of victory before. And I also want to mention Ukrainian officials in the eastern part of the country saying that the fight for Soledar is not over.
In the battles like the one for Soledar right now, Abby, weapons from Canada and from the other NATO countries are crucial. We've heard that for Ukraine's military. That is leading today to what could be seen as a provocative statement from Ukraine's defense minister. Tell us about what he is saying.
Heather, for the past year, we've heard something that we all know. Ukraine is not part of NATO. That's been repeatedly said by the Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, and that's why NATO is not directly involved in the conflict, because it has no obligation to help defend Ukraine. And that's part of the reason why the Ukrainian Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov's comments to the BBC this morning are raising some eyebrows. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
Ukraine, as country, and the armed forces of Ukraine became the member of NATO de facto, not de jure, but de facto, because we have weaponry, we have the understanding how to use it, we have this interoperability level of the communication with our partners, and I'm sure that in the next future we will become the member of NATO.
Now, he says his comments are not controversial. We've heard Ukrainian officials in the past say they're acting as NATO's shield and protecting the rest of Europe from Russian aggression. But we also know the Kremlin has been trying to paint its war as a direct conflict with the West. And that's not something that NATO wants. They've also been careful in trying not to provoke Vladimir Putin into a wider conflict. The alliance, though, has been delivering weapons to help Ukraine defend itself. In recent weeks, some Western governments have actually been pledging to send weapons they may have resisted sending before. Canada this week announcing it'll purchase a NASAMS on behalf of Ukraine. France now saying it'll send light tanks. The United States set to deliver 50 armored vehicles. And Germany is supplying Ukraine with weapons and continues, though, to face pressure to do more. But the chancellor, like other leaders, has been concerned about provoking the Kremlin. And that's why today's comments from the defense minister of Ukraine making some waves today. We know Ukraine has been trying to become a NATO member for years. An application has been submitted, but it may take years if Ukraine is ever admitted into the alliance at all, Heather.
Abby, thank you. Abby Kugathasan in London.